And we are live, a friendly conversation about sex work. And alongside me is Jenna Belk. And Jenna, I'm so excited. Like, I literally cannot believe this is happening right now. I am talking to Jenna Belk from AXP, and this is crazy. This is crazy. I'm so happy.
I am so happy to make you this happy.
You have no idea how much you have made my past 2 weeks. Like, I have been over the moon. And this morning, I mean, just all day, my stomach has been in knots, and I'm just very excited for this. So,
well, good.
Thank you so much. So, if I could ask you to introduce yourself and maybe tell the audience about you.
I was a pretty strict Catholic growing up. Started straying away a little bit in my early 20s, and then lost my religion finally about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
I started pretty much right away volunteering at the atheist community of Boston because they put on the show, The Atheist Experience.
Right.
Yay.
Yeah, my favorite show.
Yeah, that helped me right when I deconverted. And so I found out they were in Austin. I'm in Austin, so I wanted to give back as much as I could. And so then I got put on the Atheist Experience, and then a lot of people watch that show. So.
Yes, including me every week. And I don't want to, I want to say I watch it religiously. It's
a lot of people do. It's on Sundays.
I can't help it. It's just every time it's like I make sure I have no plans between that 90-minute period. I have to watch it. It's something I look forward to. So,
awesome.
Wow, I can't believe my voice is cracking. Anyways, we're going to touch on a really, really tough topic, and it is sex work. And I think it's important that we give a female perspective on this, because whenever I think any man tries to talk about sex work, they get shut down. They just assume that guys use it to want to take advantage of women. And it's a much bigger discussion than that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I personally, and to be clear, I'm not speaking for Jenna. I believe it should not only be decriminalized, I think it should be legalized, with obvious regulations in place. So I guess my first question is, do you think sex work should be decriminalized? No, let me backtrack. That's an easy answer. Why do you think there is such a negative stigma around sex work in the US?
Short answer first, religion.
I would agree.
Longer answer, I think that people have been just raised doing what their dad did, and they were raised doing what their dad did, and it's just been, everything's been passed down, and we have to respect our ancestors. And what's been passed down is this set plate of ideals where it's, sex is bad. You can only marry one person, and it has to be male, female. There's just this cultural idea that's been just passed down. And I don't think that people have taken much time to stop and rethink any of these ideas and say, okay, should we still believe in all this stuff? Like, and why? Why is the wedding dress white?
Okay, I actually never thought about that one.
Well, actually, I don't know either. But, it's just things like, let's think about this stuff.
Right. No, I agree. I personally, like, I don't get frustrated often, but I get frustrated when I see how sex workers are viewed and treated. It's almost like they're viewed as second-class citizens, and I don't like it. I really don't like it, and I feel the arguments against sex work are very tired and rooted in, as you said, religion, but also tradition. People don't want to take the time to actually think about it.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Or if they do think about it, then they start feeling like they feel shame, I think. They have desires that they don't want to have. And if that exists, then it's just more evidence that they're a bad person and they're just afraid. So
right. Well, and it's kind of, so in 2018, Psychology Today posted a review where 98% of men have, and 73% of women have used internet porn in this past 6 months. And yet, apparently up until recently, people were still against sex work. So why are people okay with porn, but not okay with sex work? Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
You can watch porn in the bathroom.
Right. It's like, it's to move it a little forward a little bit. If it's legal for a porn star to be paid to have sex in porn, but the second there's no camera, then it's illegal. How does that make any sense?
Well, that person can't see what you're doing, so they can't aptly judge you.
I like that.
I'm assuming. This is all assumptions. This is
Right. So I guess it's not often I find other people with similar views on sex work. Why is it? How did you get to having a more open view on the sex industry?
I started cocktail waitressing.
Okay.
At a club in town. The joke, there's a joke that I, every time I ever said, oh yeah, I'm a cocktail waitress at a strip club.
Right.
There was like this joke that everybody seemed to ask, and it was, well, what's the difference between a cocktail waitress and a dancer?
What?
2 weeks. Right?
I've never heard that one before, but yeah.
Right. So I got asked that a lot, you know, and a lot of people, actually some people use a cover and say that they cocktail and they actually dance. But the fact is that people are going to make their assumptions.
Right.
My family at a certain point actually knew that I did work there, and I was cocktailing. You know, it was the same thing that I was doing at another bar a couple years before,
right,
just with less lights, you know. And so they were okay with it. They were just worried. That's the other thing, is I think that some of them pitied me. I think that they were scared for me. I think that because one uncle actually pulled me aside and told me that he was afraid for me because he'd heard of a woman who had said no to somebody trying to do something to her, and then that guy stayed after her, followed her to her car, and had his way with her. So he's afraid, and I'm like, I understand that. That can happen at the bus station.
It can happen anywhere.
That can happen at the mall. That can happen anywhere.
Right.
So yeah.
You know, to me, that also goes into another conversation, is when people say, well, and this, there is a phrase that triggers me, and it's when someone says, oh, she was asking for it. And it's like, it's infuriating. Like, I don't care if a woman is walking down the street naked. She or anybody is not asking to be abused. And it's just, it drives me nuts that people will justify someone being abused by simply saying they asked for it. Like, that's a horrible thing to say, in my opinion.
I agree. I actually don't know anybody that says that. At least they haven't said that to me.
Okay, can I give you an embarrassing confession right now?
Yeah.
I used to be that guy.
Really? So what was it? What were you thinking at that time? Like, what was it?
I was raised that women don't do this. Women need to dress a certain way. I mean, if you go back and look at some of my Facebook statuses from like a decade ago, they're kind of embarrassing. It's like, wow, I really didn't actually think at all. And I would make those comments. Now, granted, I would still feel horrible if something happened, but it's terrifying that people think like that. And I think that's why it frustrates me more, because I used to think like that. And it's just like, I feel like in a lot of ways, what I've learned unlocked my brain to unlimited potential. Like before, when I was a part of religion, I was in this little box.
Yeah.
Everybody has to fit in this box.
Mm-hmm.
The second I gave that up, everything fell apart. Just everything. And it's like, so at first, for the first 6 months after I was deconverted, I was angry. I'm like, no, everybody's got to think like this.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't get me anywhere.
I think that's why we still have this, is because once you finally break from that thinking, you're not going to force the people behind you to do that, because you know it's wrong. So they just keep doing it.
Right. And it's like, you know, if a woman wants to dress provocative, who cares? It's not hurting you. If a man wants to dress provocative, who cares? Now, I get it. There's a time and place, but there shouldn't be an issue. We shouldn't be judging people for the way they look or the way they dress or even the jobs they have. As long as those jobs aren't negatively impacting someone else, I don't think there should be an issue with it.
That's an interesting.
I should have warned you from the beginning. So because of my ADHD, I end up going like.
I do that too. I'm sorry. I shouldn't.
It'll be like stay on topic.
That's actually a bad sign of the people who know me when I do. That's not a good sign. We're about to address something.
Okay. It's hard, but I'll do my best to stay on the topic of sex work.
Well, but I think that we're raised that there's two boxes of people. There's good people and there's bad people.
Yes, and bad people usually are the ones that apparently have sex or sex out of wedlock and such. And
well, they can't be people that you're going to see on the street every day.
No,
and when these rules were created, you didn't really see that stuff, right? They can't be people who you need, so teachers, doctors, police officers, of
course.
But that's the problem, is that these kids are taught the wrong, that teachers are good, priests are good, all this, and it's just like this blanket statement where just yes, in general, you're going to get more, good citizens, citizens that give back in those fields. Yes, that's true. But if you put out a blanket statement like that, that's how you have people still doing bad things, because you have your kid over here afraid of me because I'm an atheist.
Right.
Like
I don't get that.
You're wasting your efforts. You're teaching them the wrong things. Like it's just heartbreaking. So that's why I think we still have it. Just long story long.
Yes. And that, we could obviously delve into atheism too. It's just, it's frustrating how judged you and I are simply because we just say, hey, I don't believe you. And then we're automatically bad people. And it does frustrate me sometimes, but I do my best to stay positive, because to me, I believe we can change the world. And
I believe we are.
And yes. And do you know what that starting block is for everyone? It's becoming an atheist. Once you do that, you cut the chains free and just open up your mind. I know I feel like I'm suggesting it as a worldview, which I'm not. I'm just saying, for me personally, becoming an atheist is what gave me those tools to stop caring what other people do unless it negatively affects someone. So anyways, back on to topic. What was it like working in a strip club?
Woman's world. If we didn't like a customer, it's because they were milking or they were abusing, and they were thrown out on a moment's notice. Now, okay, disclaimer. Every club is different.
Of course.
Every city's clubs are different. They have different rules. When you change states, they're different. So I can only speak to the club that I worked at, which actually closed down not long ago. It's actually very sad, because I found family there.
Right. A home.
We were safe. We would get wasted, and granted, that's not a good thing. But for an alcoholic who is going to drink anyway, it's better that I do it where I have 4 bouncers there to watch me.
That's true.
Than do it on 6th Street, which is where everybody gets wasted and blackout drunk, and it's just horrible.
Right.
So
no, I agree. You have a safer place to do that, and that's And again, not that either of us are condoning drinking all the time, but agreed, it's better to have a safe place to do that or any drug than not have a safe place to do
Well,
that.
it's the same thing with addicts, with sex work. They're going to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well give them a safe place. Same with abortions.
Yes. Yes.
They're going to do it anyway. Give them a safe place to do it.
And
where we can have regulations.
Right. And most importantly, people think you're enabling them. And no, as you just said, they're going to do it. But if we're monitoring it, if we give them a safe place, we can lower the transmission of disease, virus, or, anything being spread, and we can protect them from overdosing. But,
look at the opioid crisis.
Yes.
We try to take it away. It's not regulated anymore.
No, and if people were just, it's easy to dismiss an addict and just say they did it to themselves. All right, let's say they did it to themselves. Does that mean they're not worthy of compassion? Does that mean they're not worthy of help? Like, people make mistakes, and the only difference with, I almost said something that would have probably triggered some people. If you're addicted to smoking, granted, it may not send you to the extreme as other ones, but look what you turn into when you don't have a cigarette. You get short, you become an asshole, you're what? You're withdrawing. So sure, you're not stealing to feed your habit, but you're still addicted. So at the end of the day, that may upset some people. I'm sorry. No,
I mean, there's actually two different kinds of addictions that I know of, which there's the physical addiction and then there's the mental addiction. Right. And when it came to the addictions in my household, my husband had a physical addiction. I have a mental addiction. So he was physically addicted. He had to drink to stay healthy at a certain point. I could go 2 weeks without drinking. So I was convinced that I didn't have a problem because of that. But once I did, if I drank anything, there's just no stopping me.
Okay.
I would drink, and the more I drank, the more convinced I was sober and the better off I was driving. And I wouldn't stop.
You just keep drinking, keep drinking.
I think that was because I was raised in a certain type of environment where I was told it's alcohol abuse to say no to alcohol. You never say no to alcohol.
Okay. Sorry, I'll let you continue, but
you're good. Go ahead.
That is what is very frustrating to me, because like working in a bar, people offer you drinks all the time. And I feel like I have to constantly not only say, yeah, I don't drink, but then I have to give an explanation, because the first words is, well, why? Oh, did you have a problem? Well, no, I just don't like it. But there's this acceptable social norm around alcohol, when alcohol turns people into, alcohol doesn't turn people into assholes, but it reveals their inner asshole. And I just don't understand why people are so accepting of alcohol. And so it's okay to push it. You're going to have a drink with me, right? Come on, do a shot. But when you do weed or smoke weed, you're all of a sudden a bad person. I don't get why alcohol is so socially acceptable when it is clearly very bad for you.
I think that's because of history too. Tobacco and alcohol have been, for thousands of years. That's what we fight over.
It's been the acceptable norm.
Money, Right. But when you try to control it and you try to limit it and make it illegal and make it bad, then you have people growing up in this environment where it's bad. Right. So they just have this idea, oh, well, it just must be bad because they said so.
Yes.
But you said something earlier that I wanted to talk about. You might have to wait till we continue.
To backtrack a little bit, what is the difference between a mental addiction and the physical addiction?
That's what it was.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So alcohol is a symptom. Alcoholism is not the problem.
Okay.
It's a symptom of a problem. If somebody has an addiction, they're escaping something.
Right.
So I had to go to rehab. My insurance only approved me for half the time, so I went for 2 weeks. I was bad enough to go, but not bad enough to stay the whole time. I don't know.
That's asinine, because if you get worse, you're going to end up in the hospital, and it's going to cost the insurance more money.
Right. And there's stuff that there's like a curriculum that goes kind of like over the month. And so you miss that second half of the curriculum if you don't stay for it. So I was actually upset that I didn't get the curriculum, because I've always, like we talked about, I'm fascinated by people and psychology and how our brain works and stuff. And so they taught us, this is how your brain is working. You're an addict. This is why you're doing this, because your brain thinks that it has to do this to survive.
Right.
Your brain's telling you that. And I'm like, okay. And so I was learning a lot. But I remember getting out of Yes, I remember getting out of there and saying, like, I was so angry that they don't teach us this stuff in school.
No. They don't teach real world applicable knowledge in school. Like, they don't teach. Everyone wants to tell you to be an adult, but they don't want to teach you to be an adult.
Oh, because your parents are supposed to do that.
Right. And then when it's time for you to act like an adult, people get mad at you for not acting like one. And if schools taught more about addiction, sex, just everything, taxes, like, these are things we need to learn. And I don't know, I'm going off on a tangent again.
Go for it.
Back to the addiction. So the need, how would you equate that need? Because many people will just say, well, just stop taking it. Mm-hmm. Why can't an addict just stop?
You have to replace it with something that you like more. And once you have somebody who's addicted to alcohol, there's not much that's accessible all the time that you can like more.
So are you saying it's important to replace one addiction with another?
Well, but it's, what are you replacing it with? Are you replacing it with exercise? Are you replacing it with learning how to cook, or learning a new hobby, or meditation? Are you replacing it with time with your family? What are you replacing it with?
So
therapy?
Does that mean, I totally don't want to put words in your mouth, so please correct me. Does that mean addiction isn't inherently bad and only depends on what that addiction is? Like, for example, if you're an addict to working out all the time, wouldn't addiction still be bad because you're addicted to something, or no?
I think that would be up to the person that thinks that they're working out too much.
I like that. That's very true.
That's the other thing. Real quick.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Just since we're on the alcoholism part, being told that I was an alcoholic made me more convinced that I was not an alcoholic. Trying to convince somebody else that they have a problem usually doesn't work. People have to find out that they have problems on their own. And so the best thing that you can do is help them discover that they have a problem by not enabling. When you say things, and I'm actually really bad about this, when you say things like, if you do this, then I will do this, you have to actually follow through, or you're going to teach that person that they can get away with it because they can.
So how could someone be more supportive of an addict, or how could they best help them? Let's say a family member is on their last line. They've been stealing money and they just don't know what to do. How do they help that person?
It depends completely on the situation. But in my shoes, it's very, you have to hit rock bottom. I did.
Is there any way, I don't want to say to encourage getting someone to rock bottom, but I guess, is there a way to outside of supporting them, how could we help get somebody suffering?
You could say something like, if their problem is drinking, say, you know what, I've talked to you about this. I think you have a problem. You don't. I offered to help and you won't let me. So that leaves me no choice but to ask you not. I don't want to be around you when you're drunk or drinking. And you have to follow through with that, because then when that person comes to that point where that's all that they are is drunk or drinking, then they'll find out how alone they will be if everybody did that.
But don't you think if we left that person alone, they'd be more at risk? Like, doesn't...
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But they're gonna do it anyway.
That's true.
I'm letting you know, like, they're gonna do it.
Yeah, they need to get there on their own. I don't know.
Either give them a safe place to do it, or leave them to do it on their own.
Right.
And that's just my opinion. I'm not a therapist or a psychologist. I'm just somebody with addiction who happens to be fascinated by the subject.
I'm fascinated by everything that goes on in the brain and why people do things the way they do. It really, I feel like it's just, I don't know. I love learning about people and what makes them tick. I just, I do wish people could be more sympathetic towards addicts, sex workers, anyone suffering, because anybody can dismiss another human being. But it takes compassion and strength to say, you know what, maybe this person is dicking me over, but I'm still going to help them. I'm going to find a way to get them from here to here. I want this person to be able to stand on their own 2 feet rather than giving up. Like, we as a society, we're too quick to just write people off. And this could go into another tangent, but it's kind of how people rush to block and delete people. They just... once you disagree with them, even on a basic level, it's like people want you out of their life. And I mean, that in many ways goes against everything I stand for. Like, I just want everyone to be happy together. And if someone's suffering, I want to help them. Like, to me...
Well, they don't always want help.
But so what?
No. That's the important thing that I think people who aren't addicts possibly don't understand, and I don't mean this as a dig in any way. I'm sorry.
No, speak freely, please.
It's just that people think that it's their job to help them, and they try to fix problems for them, and sometimes that's how they got in that place in the first place, because they didn't learn how to solve their own problems.
Right.
So they have to not only just, like they say, first step is admitting you have a problem.
Right.
But then you have to want to quit badly enough to put in enough effort to quit, because it takes a lot of effort on a daily basis to quit anything.
So I should clarify what I meant. I didn't mean you just force your help on them. I mean, you be there for them regardless. If they're laying on the ground, even if they're not taking your hand, still put your hand out. Not telling them what to do, but let me go back to when I was depressed after my brother died and I had all my medical issues. I had someone very close to me that was there for me. I shut off the world in many ways. I lost a lot of friends, but there's obviously a lot more to unpack and more to the story that I'm not going to go into. But I think if I had more people not telling me what to do, but just there knowing that I had that hand, it would have made the world a difference. I wouldn't have felt like I was in this black hole. So I guess to me, and if I'm wrong, tell me, shouldn't that hand always be there?
I'd love to say yes, but I think it depends on the situation.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
What I avoid personally just these always and never statements now, because there's always going to be something that comes up that you can say, okay, but not in that case, So real quick, rewind. I want to just make a clarification that not everybody working in strip clubs or doing sex work are to be pitied.
Yes.
Not everybody's there because they're desperate and have daddy issues, and not everybody's.
No, but they assume that.
People assume that, so that's why I wanted to make that as a clarification, because some people just found family. So again, I don't know if this is every strip club, but at the club I worked at, there was almost like a gentle hazing process to begin working on the staff there.
Okay.
Dancers are contractors, independent contractors. So they work at their own schedule. Their hours determine how much they pay to work.
Okay.
But they don't have to come in. Cocktails do. So when we were bringing people on staff, now considering that it is a harsh environment, you can't be somebody who's going to go cry when somebody calls you stupid. And so almost to kind of see if you can handle that environment, we would kind of, I hate to say it, but we'd be kind of mean to the new girl to see if she could take it. And a lot of the times they'd end up quitting really quickly and be like, oh, I don't want to work here anymore. But if they stayed after a couple weeks, we'd be like, all right, okay, you're hanging in there. I'll help you out. But there's always somebody there to help you out. You're never alone. Right. But I think that once you get in, you have this family, almost like a sorority type, where it's, you made it in, you've got things in common. You have all these things that happen, right. And you get blackout drunk and you come back and you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And they're like, girl, you want to hear about a time I messed up? Like, oh yeah. So they made me feel accepted and welcome.
That's awesome. And how long did you work there for?
On and off. I think I cocktailed, 2 years. And then I danced kind of on and off over the course of like a year, just sometimes right. Not. Mm.
So since we're talking about stripping, the next line would be sex work. So let's say why should someone be okay with taking that next step? And what I mean by that is they may be okay with strippers, but why should they be okay with decriminalizing sex work? Or how better question, how did you get to there?
How did I get to thinking that it's okay?
Yes.
Desensitization is a thing. I was around it. I was learning from girls. I was making friends. And so after a while, yeah, it's just not that bad. But then I was still a Christian when I worked there.
Really?
And when I left.
Oh, yeah. You didn't become an atheist till after everything, correct?
A year and a half ago. Yeah, that was recent.
Wow.
So a lot of the people that I worked with, they believe in God. They just, well, God said this, just right. They're not religious, but they God's real, right?
Of course.
And they even have at the club that I worked at, they had women that go to a church come in and bring cookies sometimes and be like, oh, we're here for you girls. And they're just really nice. Like they don't try to preach at you.
That's good.
But they let you know that they're there, and that is really good. Anyway, well.
So I guess. How
did I get there?
Yeah, there we go.
So I think that I had a friend that used to dance, and she came in cocktails and started dancing with her out of town where people didn't know me. And I kind of got used to it. And the thing is that I loved about it is that it made me completely accept my body.
So it gave you confidence in your physical appearance.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah. And I've been an insecure person for a while. So
same.
Yeah. So to get on stage with all those lights, you have to accept that everything is the way that it is.
Right.
So it just turned out that I don't have the stripper personality. What I mean is cocktails typically are I could just be a bitch to everybody and just get paid for it.
Right.
Because you get some people you'd stand there because a lot of people don't want to tip you.
Right.
And so you kind of stand there. Oh yeah. So you kind of stand there and be like, and I had one guy, I was like, you can't just expect a tip. And I was like, well, you can't expect service, you know, and just walked away. And so, like, you can say that, like,
right.
You want to be a dick, you're in my world.
Yep.
But a dancer, sometimes dancers can do that, you know, if you're with the kind of guy who's into that. But to be like a money-making dancer, you either have to be a stage dancer or a floor dancer. You either have to make money on stage by dancing, which I just didn't have any talent in at the time. Or floor dancing, where you build relationships with people. And I just didn't care to take it out of the club. You know, I didn't care to be texting my customers, or I just didn't care for that. So I just ended up being a cocktail personality. And the way I call it, this is just me. I'm not speaking for everyone.
No, it's a persona. And obviously I don't have experience working in a strip club, but I can only relate it to my experiences DJing and emceeing. And yes, you do have that freedom to be more of an asshole, more abrasive. And at times you have to be, because people with drinking, they will get in your face. They will test you. And you have to set that hard, firm boundary right away.
Cutting off people at a strip club.
Oh, I can only imagine what you dealt with there. That would be way more difficult than just a regular bar.
Yeah.
And
they give me a backbone.
Oh, I bet, because you have the freedom to express yourself. And most importantly, at least in my experience, when I was an asshole, if it was justified, I would have the support of the bar, because they know I wouldn't lash out for no reason.
Right.
So, and that to me is a great thing when you have this group of people who is supportive of you, who has your back. Like, I'm a total pacifist. I don't like fighting, but I've been in altercations. One of the best feelings I ever had was when these three guys were like, I'm friggin' waiting for you when we get outside the bar. And I'm like, I can't take these three guys. Yeah. Well, I had a large, let's say, following there. And immediately, multiple friends came up. They're like, yeah, they're not getting through us. And just darted out the door before I even finished packing up my equipment. There's like 10 people going outside. And I'm like, and fortunately, nothing happened, because I never want people to fight. But it was a powerful, good feeling knowing that I had people willing to have my back. And it sounds like you had the same thing in the club. Is that correct?
Bouncers, the bartenders, the DJ, the manager, usually they're dudes.
Right.
Sometimes bartenders are girls. Sometimes the manager's a girl. But usually there's enough guys there on the premises to handle anything.
Right.
One other thing that I've remembered is that's the only place that I ever worked that was the tip out was based completely on an honor system.
Really?
There was no recording tips through the register. We just tipped out a percentage at the end of the night. You tip out the DJ. Sometimes you tip out the DJ. You're not required to.
Okay.
You're supposed to tip out the bartenders and the managers and the busboy and the barback.
Okay.
Barback is the busboy, sorry.
Right.
And the bouncer. So you have to tip out people, like a bunch of people. And then if you have a really good night, then you tip out extra people. But the thing is, nobody knew how much people were tipping out, except that we shared it with each other. Like, if I had a $200 tip, I would have told somebody, right? Because who makes $200 and doesn't tell anyone?
Oh, of course. That's a nice number.
Right. So we kind of figure out, oh, this person's got a lot of money. And then if a bartender I don't know. I actually don't know how we figured it out. We knew who tipped out enough, and we knew who didn't. And if they didn't, we gave them a hard time.
So there was a level of respect and trust there.
They let us handle our own shit, and it worked.
That's awesome. So on to the important question.
Yes.
Don't apologize. Like I feel like I should have titled this conversation mental illness, addiction, sex work, and ADHD. Because that's how all conversations with me go. They just sporadically go all over the place. But I don't know. To me, that makes for more entertainment, not just being stuck in this little box.
Yeah.
So earlier you did say you're for the decriminalization of sex work. Is that correct? Are you willing to go one step further, and are you for the legalization of sex work?
I'm for the legalization of sex work and I don't think that possession of drugs, unless it's like a huge, like you're obviously seller.
Right.
I don't think you should get knocked for that.
I'm the same way. I just I don't want to say legalize everything, because that's a huge statement. But
right.
The second you tell somebody they can't do something, they're going to do it. It's human nature. So let it happen. Put the information out there. Educate people on everything. And I mean, to me, we'd be much better off.
Like I said, it's like when you don't have what you want, you find something better. So if you take away what they can get, then they will find something else.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's not usually going to be reading.
Nope, it'll be something harsher.
Yeah.
So to ask the obvious question that I get asked all the time is, wouldn't legalizing sex work put more women at danger or put them in danger of being victimized? No, I agree with you. So I'm just asking this question because that is something I get. So for instance, if you legalize sex work, people have this impression that all of a sudden all these women are going to be abused because prostitution or sex work is now legal.
It's already happening. Like,
no, I agree.
I mean, so the right now, most of the rules, I don't know if this is all over or just here, but it's 18 and up. And under 21 can't drink.
Right.
And some clubs are better at regulating that than others. But I mean, it's not like all of a sudden you're going to get everybody stripping. You know?
Well, it's like I constantly hear that once you legalize it, all of a sudden human trafficking is going to shoot up. And I don't get that, because if it's legal and it's regulated, if anything, women are now going to have the protections in place they need. They're going to be tested regularly. They're going to have a safe place to work. They're going to actually be able to step forward and report abuse. Whereas now, a prostitute, a sex worker, they can't report it for fear of getting in trouble. Mm-hmm. So to me, the overwhelming evidence is on the side of legalizing sex work.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty simple.
Yeah. The thing is, like I said, for cocktails, it's the same for dancers when I say that it's not for everyone.
No, of course not.
Even the girls that do get to work there, even though it's not, well, I mean, strip clubs are legal, but it's there. We have bartenders and everything. It's still frowned upon, but we still get people who work there and they still quit. They still leave. And I still left, people come and they take what they need and they either stay or they leave.
Exactly.
I think honestly, if it became less taboo and we, like, say, for example, you had like the environment of like a hospital on the outside, like a professional appearance on the outside, right? I don't think that there would be trafficking there.
I agree.
I could be wrong, but I think that they'd find other ways to do it too.
Absolutely.
But I don't think that's a reason.
No, I agree. And one of the things I found interesting is I was watching this special where that they did it on sex work where it was legal. And women had access to all the things they needed to stay healthy, stay clean, and stay safe. But even in the beginning, before they let anyone sleep together, they have somebody, I guess I'm going into a little bit too much detail, but they would have a female put on gloves and check the male's area to ensure that there was nothing that could, infect someone else. And I get so confused because to me, there are so many benefits to legalizing it. And we haven't even got into the mental well-being that how it can help other people. And what I mean by that is, let's take a 55-year-old man who lost his wife. He doesn't want to get remarried. He doesn't want to start over, but he's lonely. Now, if he wants to pay someone over the age of 18 for companionship, what's the problem? Like, just
Those are my favorite customers.
what? Yeah, right. Like, the guy's not doing anything. He doesn't want to be alone.
Mm.
And you're telling me that you're just so against somebody else being happy that you want to insert your opinion, judgment, and restrictions. Like, why? What's the point?
You'd be amazed how many times people come in there and people don't want anything sexual.
See, and that's just it. It's not just sex. They may just want to cuddle. They may just want to watch a movie.
A lot of them just want conversation. A lot of them. So intelligence is almost as desired as beauty there, because they want somebody that can hang. And when you have a man that's retired and he's like a ex-CEO of something, and he wants somebody that can be on his level.
Right.
So
yeah, I just wish we'd be more understanding and just allow it to be legalized. I saw the harm in it when I was religious. I no longer see the harm in it at all. And although I did get exposure at a young age, and let me clarify that, I had a person, I'm just going to say person in my life who suffered from severe depression. He went over a decade without a single female, not cuddling, not a date. And he was borderline suicidal. He was miserable. And when he found an escort service, it was literally like he would, once every 6 months, he would call this escort service, and the change in him was just remarkable. And he would even say, yes, the sex is needed, but it was that companionship that got him through it. And now this person is, I have to be very careful how many details I give here, but let's just say this person is now happy and with a partner, and just not who they were before. So why would somebody want to take that away? Why would somebody want to take that happiness away?
They're in denial that even happens, probably.
Well, that's true. And back to what you were saying earlier, I kind of want to give a firsthand account. This is kind of personal, but I want to draw a very clear line. I have never, ever paid, for sex work. Sorry. I've never paid for somebody to be with me, but I can, not from the sex side, but I can relate to wanting that companionship. Like, it's incredibly hard to find people I relate to on a personal level. I'm a goofy, weird dude. And I hear that regularly. Like, an ex said to me, you're not normal. You don't act like a guy. You don't talk like a guy. You don't sit like a guy. So just to put it in perspective, I am kind of goofy. So it's incredibly hard to find people. I'm fortunate enough that if I wanted to have sex, I'd like to think I could go find somebody, but I don't, I'd rather the companionship.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have to pay for that companionship, why is that a problem?
Yeah. I think that if it were legalized, that could apply the same thing to women, because we don't have any male strip clubs.
That's true. I'm going to start a male strip club. I'm getting on that. Guys, hit me up in the comments. I need some male strippers. Let's do this.
Well, there are male strippers. I mean, they usually do bachelorette parties and stuff like that.
I almost did that once to be so.
Oh, really? I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that. Like,
no, I don't either. But I've always been friendly. Like, to give an example, there's a YouTube video. I would do these benefits for Toys for Tots every year, and I always try to put on a show and make it more entertaining. So every year I would learn a new dance. Well, the one year I decided to put on pink booty shorts and do the single ladies dance on stage.
Nice.
But after that, someone was like, would you dance at my bachelorette party? And I was like,
oh, yeah. Wow.
But I don't have the courage to do that because that takes courage. And I mean, I can't dance. I can mimic movements, but I did almost accept it, but I couldn't do it.
That's another interesting thing is that when you're dancing on stage, there's a certain kind, like, it's not like YMCA. It's not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
You know, it's different. And so I think that it took me so long because it took me that long to finally have watched long enough to feel comfortable repeating any of those moves myself.
Right.
I don't know how well I did, but I mean, I did it. So.
Right. So question from Cindy Plaza, and real quick, I just have to give a shout out to Cindy. I had reached out for assistance for a friend in the trans community, and Cindy heard about this and reached out to me all the way from Belgium. So we have and we've spoken on the phone. We did an episode with her talking what it's like to be trans in Belgium.
Wow.
It's pretty cool and incredibly smart. She wants to teach critical thinking courses in Belgium.
Cool.
And also wants to get a show started like the Atheist Experience, but over there.
Do it.
So question, what would be the best legislation to take care of sex workers in your opinion?
I don't know what's an example of good legislation, to be honest.
Yeah, Cindy, if you could maybe reform the question or better specify it. And if you do have any questions for Jenna, we're going to get to those questions in a moment. Feel free to ask.
I'm on GB3 and we are discussing teaching me things like this. But I'm not there yet.
Sorry, GB3?
Godless Bitches 3.
Oh, duh. And when are you on that?
We are right now releasing one episode a month. We started in January. And once, I think she's still moving down here. Once she moves down here, they're going to twice a month.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's the one show I watch most of the shows the ACA produces. I haven't watched that one. Okay. When is it? I need to watch it now. Though. When's it going to be on again?
They don't air live. We pre-record them and then air them. I think usually after the Atheist Experience on the second Sunday of the month.
Okay. Sorry, Puck, if you could just put your question again, because it's incredibly hard for me to scroll through all the comments right now. So if you, here we go. There seems to be different tiers of sex work, like stripper, cam girl, porn actress, prostitute, girlfriend experience, etc. Even within the sex industry, some of these jobs are considered to be crossing the line, but for no consensus as to why. So where do you each believe the line of acceptable sex work is? Okay, I guess I'll answer that first. I guess the only line for me, and I want to be clear, I could be missing something, but the only line for me would be they're adults and it's consenting. Otherwise, I don't care what they do. Like cam girl, there is no crossing the line as long as both parties are in complete agreement.
And of age.
And of age, yes.
Yep, I completely second that. When it comes to the tiers of what they are going to be doing, I think that's completely up to them.
Right.
And if one of those fields disappears, well, then there's not a need for that anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So, and there was something you brought up earlier that I want to circle back to, and it's so someone can partake. Sorry, someone could be a stripper at 18, but they can't drink till they're 21.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that to me, I find that asinine. Like, and to draw a bigger picture, like what all over, I'm going all over the place, but like, for instance, someone enrolls in the military, they're fighting for our country, and yet they can't drink alcohol. Like, I don't get that. So what would you say is a safe age for everything, for drinking, smoking, sex work? Like, where do you fall on that?
The problem is that if I were to take my own personal experience, I'd say 27.
Really?
That's not realistic. That's not realistic.
Okay, I agree.
For me, I don't feel like I became a grown-up till 27.
Right.
But does that mean that the government gets to decide when I get to start? No, I had a good amount of years failing.
Right.
And a lot of, I mean, that's how you learn.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
I think you move out when you're ready. And when you move out and you live on your own, you move out and you live on your own.
I agree.
I just think that there should be a little bit more involvement. Interesting. So I'm learning right now about how the government works. And on that, like, again, that's on GB3. So when I say my opinion on this is not a well-researched, formulated opinion. I'm learning a lot of stuff right now, and this is where I'm at. Basically, I don't know how involved I think that the government should be. I think it should be more involved than it is, but not about the things that it wants to be involved in.
Can you give me an example?
For example, I don't think that it needs to start controlling our birthing, like it wants to, like it has, like it wants to again. But I think that they should be more involved in our education, and that means being involved in updating it.
Right.
And having people travel out to rural areas and including those school districts in what the rest of the world is learning. I know that, like, for example, the school district that I grew up in, it was a Texas, curriculum. And they get to pick their own stuff, and I get that. But why does every single school get to pick their own stuff? When you have a town of a couple hundred people that's connected to another town of a couple hundred people, those people get to pick the entire curriculum for that county? Like, I don't get it. So I just think there should be more involvement because, for example, the reason that I hated history. I thought that history was just gossip. It sounded so one-sided to me. Right. It sounded like I didn't know what to believe. And I was just like, you know what? It sounds like drama, and I'm not interested. You know? Right. But if I'd been taught, like, okay, well, this is how this side saw it, and this is how this side saw it, and this is what happened, I think I'd be a little more interested. But more importantly, I think that they would have caught why I wasn't interested in education. Why was I so focused on socializing? Why was I so focused on everything that was not learning? Because I had PTSD. I was not a happy, functioning child. I was trying to survive. And I mean, I'm just saying, I wish that there was more awareness. We had just gotten a counselor to our school when I was in like third grade or fifth grade, for the first time.
Uh-oh.
I think there should be more involvement.
Absolutely. And this, you hit the nail on the head. So another personal life experience. So as I said earlier, you know, I have ADHD. Now, obviously I'm 37. So 20 years ago, I mean, even now still, we don't understand ADHD. People will just say, just focus or just do this. They don't get it. But I ran into a problem which caused me an insecurity for a large majority of my life. I was struggling in reading class a lot. I didn't pay attention, and thus I tested badly. So my teacher decided to give me a test to see where my reading level was at. And off that test, they determined it was 2 or 3 years below my age. So one, they brought this up in class in front of people. And then my mom, unintentionally, she was harping on me like, you have to start doing this. She didn't understand either, of course. But for so many years, I felt like an idiot because not that I struggled to read, but I struggled to stay focused because I was always told you just need to do this. And I thought something was wrong with me. Like I thought there was something in my brain, like I was dumb or I was stupid, but I couldn't just focus and read. So absolutely, there needs to be more involvement, more awareness, more compassion that everybody learns differently.
Exactly. There's not a right or wrong way to learn.
Right.
And the thing is that the teachers that we have aren't being paid much, and they're not getting taken care of.
Absolutely.
Instead, we're putting all of our money in our bombs. So I think that there are things that need to change, and I think that starts with education.
Absolutely. And awareness.
Awareness of perspective.
Yes.
Yes.
So follow-up question from Cindy. She said, sorry for the language. Do you think it would be appropriate to centralize sex workers in one place, managed by authorized people and regularly controlled? And I think what she's asking, I hope I'm not taking your comment out of context, is, for example, let's say right now we legalize it. Should in Chicago, they have one central location where you're allowed to be a sex worker and everything is run out of that location?
Oh, like a district.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that'd be up to the city. I think that would be up to the city. How do you want your city run? Do you want people to be doing this freely, or do you want to keep it on a certain side of town? Actually, I don't know.
Do you think it would be beneficial to have a centralized location, whether it be one or multiple?
I couldn't say.
Yeah, I agree. That's a tough one. Question from Puck. Can you brainstorm ways to make sex work more socially acceptable and less stigmatized? Honestly, I want to know how we can do this.
Come out.
What was that?
Come out. Everybody knows people who have done some kind of sex work.
That's true.
Once I tell somebody at a place of work, oh, I've done this, and I trust them enough to open up about that, I don't know how many times I've gotten back, oh, me too.
Really?
Yes.
So you'd say it's more common than we realize.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just wish there was a fast track way to get just everybody on board rather than just pushing people into a corner and saying it's not acceptable. Like, just open everything up, be more accepting. Like,
I think that's where a lot of our problems come from.
Right.
Is trying to fast track things. The war on drugs. Just cut it all off.
That's true. But I want to fast track it by opening it up. Like,
I know.
Let's open everything up and then create the restrictions from there, rather than saying, hey, you can't do any of this. We start evaluating things as we allow them.
I think you start slowly going with, like, okay, well, what's the least exposing, cam girl say?
Right.
Let's start with that one and say it's a 21 age limit and see how it goes.
I agree.
Say one at a time, take the age limit, lower it if you can, see how it goes. But I think that just the idea that they would be willing to start progressing towards something like that, I think that would be enough for me.
Good. What is something you would like people to know? Or is there anything we haven't covered about sex work that you think is important for the audience to understand?
The strip club saved my life.
Really? Mm-hmm. Can you expand on that? Because that's a big statement.
Have I addressed how I got to the strip club, like the crossroads?
Not specifically, no. So
I came to a point in my life where I had been drinking. First got pushed away from church. I tried to be a youth minister for a middle school group, and then got in an accident, drunk driving. So I got a DWI, totaled my car, so I lost my car, lost my job, lost my apartment, all in the same month. So for the next year was miserable, trying to find places to live, trying to find places to work, trying to find money to eat, all that. I came to a point where I was crashing on my brother's couch, and I was really, really depressed. And I don't get along with my family if we're together too long. I think it's because of my PTSD. I think I get triggered too easily, and maybe trigger them. I don't know, but it's just not happy. But anyway, I got suicidal.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I called a friend, and she freaked out. She was a friend from my hometown that I grew up in, a small town. She freaked out, called her mom, basically got me a job at a bank and a place to live, and said, "You'll be taken care of. We'll help you get back on your feet."
Wow.
Yes. And I was like, oh my God. But at the same time, I had another friend who was like, "Hey, I have a friend who's bartending at a strip club. You know, I can get you a job there, and it's just up the street. You can get there on the bus." Like, okay. So do I want to go literally backwards, back to my hometown, where not many people leave, and start all over from the same place? Or do I want to try something new? And I just went with my gut and just tried something new. So I went with the strip club, and I found so much love and acceptance there that I spent a couple years there. I had fun, but I got over it, and eventually decided I needed more daylight in my life, and started waiting tables again and got myself out. But if I didn't have that, I think I would have stayed in that town. I think I would have stayed in my small town way of thinking. And by that, I mean, I'm from the Bible Belt, so religious. And that terrifies me. And it terrifies me that so many, like everybody that I knew growing up, still thinks like that.
It's really, it is a scary thought. Like that's something that bothers me too. Like I think about how I used to think, how I used to view things, and it's just I don't know how else to describe it other than living in a box. It's like you just have this gigantic chain around a box on your brain, and you're not thinking freely. You're allowing something else, somebody else to dictate your beliefs. And that is so, at least for me right now, that's kind of terrifying. And it's scary that I used to judge so many people for just being human. And I don't know. I'm with you there. It does at many times scare me. And I don't like saying that because I feel like that could offend somebody. And I don't want to offend anybody. I try and be respectful and understanding of everybody's beliefs. But if we could just find a way to take the key to unlock these chains for everybody, we'd be so much better off, Jenna. That's what I think.
Yeah. I think so too, but we just got to do it the right way.
Yes. Keep fighting.
Everybody determines what's the right way, you know? So, but actually I came up with a good visual for how to describe that way of thinking and how it changes is, when, say you have a ship and you start off on this ship and you're going and you're in the cabin and you're with your whole family, and your family's telling you, don't go out of the cabin. It's going to get rocky in here. We're going to fall all around. We're going to be miserable, but it's better to be in the cabin than out there. So just don't ever leave. It's like,
I like that analogy.
I found a window. I'm like, doesn't look too bad, you know? And I found a staircase and I got out, and I'm like, holy shit, this is cool. And then I found a steering wheel. I'm like, guys, I can have control over this.
Yes.
Like, yeah, there will still be waves, but I can steer.
You just put into words.
I'm going back and I'm saying, guys, come out of the cabin. It's okay.
Yes.
Like, no, she left the cabin. No.
I freaking love that analogy. It's like, that's literally like to a T how, I don't know, you described the thought process. That is awesome. I use that analogy again and again. I freaking love that.
I'm like, guys, it's fucking okay. It's just water.
Kim Cunningham said, you're amazing.
Aww.
Yes, I would agree. You can watch her on Sundays on the Atheist Experience. You can find her on Facebook and Twitter at Jenna Belk. She is phenomenal. Is there, before we get out of here, is there anything else you want to say or touch on?
Avoid extremes. Avoid always and never. It's not always good at a strip club. It's not always bad at a strip club.
Right.
Not everybody that works there is good or goes there is good. Not everybody that works there or goes there is bad. It is what it is.
No, I agree. And, you know, to quote Star Wars, only the Sith deal in absolutes.
There you go. I love Star Wars.
Same. Special shout out to Puck, aka Alex. Thank you for your appearance, Jenna. He was the one that
I know who that
suggested yes, him. And I'm still, I got to do one thing because I'm still over the moon that 2 months ago, shout out to one of the people watching, Larry. I refer to him as Larry the Christian. He was the first person that said, all right, I will debate you on camera. And since then, he has been, even though he's Christian, he has been like one of the most supportive people of what I'm doing.
Aww.
Constantly. But he always leaves his little seeds. Like he'll be like, I see Jesus in you, or I see, but I love the guy. I mean, he really is incredibly supportive. Like it's not often two people have just fundamental disagreements and are this supportive. And he is like, he's always engaging in everything I say. He's always helping me refine my arguments. He, you know, to give an example, I had to debate an apologist one week and he called me to help prep me for it and was like, all right, you know, he's going to say this, avoid this tactic. Like he did everything he could to help me hone my arguments so I could do a good job. And
why would he do that? Hi, Larry. Why?
Yeah. You know, Larry's a good guy. He's a good person. He'll say to you that he's helping me find my way back to God. And I'll say that secretly I'm bringing him to the dark side with us. I'm slowly luring him over, but
you're going to have a battle at the end.
Yeah. But no, he's awesome. Like I try to go to his men's ministries. He invited me to his church and allowed me to wear my shirt that says, I don't have it next to me, but it says like, this is what an atheist looks like.
Aww.
And he was like, no, I encourage it. You know, I want you to spread awareness. Maybe people will see that not all atheists are bad. So he is an incredibly supportive Christian. And
nice.
I think he could lead by example for many people, even though I think he's wrong.
That's the thing is after I came to decide, I found out that you can think that somebody's wrong and not hate them.
Yes, exactly. I love everybody. All right. So Jenna, I still cannot believe this happened because 2 months ago I wasn't even on camera and now I'm talking to you. It's super cool. I'm giddy. I'm trying to contain my energy, but
you're awesome. You're awesome. You're doing a great job. I'm so thankful that you asked me. I wasn't going to come out about this. So
I'm proud of you for doing it. It takes courage to talk about that, especially when you know, like people will judge you for it. So I thank you. I mean, I hope I can find the strength one day to talk about things like that are more personal to me, that I you know, whether I'm ashamed of or not comfortable, because that takes strength, and I give you all the credit in the world for doing it.
Thank you.
So Jenna, if you could just stay on the line for a moment while I end the broadcast, but thank you so much. This is awesome. Everyone like and subscribe. Alex, aka Puck, will be back in 2 hours and 15 minutes with his second episode of What the Puck, and the subject is What the Puck is God, and he's bringing on a Hindu to talk about it. So everyone, thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe. Jenna, thank you so much.